Hello and welcome to the second installment of Revelation's Greatest Hits. This episode is Wormwood. I want to apologize for the typo of having an S on the end of Revelation on the title of my channel. When I learn how to correct it and I have the time, I will. As a reminder, I use the King James Version also of the Bible. Also, I'm making no attempt to prophesy myself in regard to the book of Revelation. I am just translating John's vision for this modern age. The events described in Revelation are in sequence, except for the destruction of Babylon, which was explained in the first of these installments. That city will be destroyed by nuclear attack before the celestial events cause major earth changes. So we start tonight in Revelation chapter 6. Planet X is introduced in this chapter. For those of you who have never heard of it, X is a legendary brown dwarf star, a companion to our sun, and has a greatly elliptical orbit of about 3,600 years. It is supposedly responsible for all grievous planetary disasters when it passes Earth. You can Google it and spend the rest of your life downloading information on Planet X. The opening of the sixth seal takes tribulational events into the celestial realm. The sun, moon, and stars are mentioned in these beginnings of earth upheavals. These are violent, traumatic times. Events are described as we will see them as they appear in the sky, and we experience them here on earth. We should not make up metaphors for them, as that softens the impact of the warnings and throws confusion into other events down the line. Therefore, we take Revelation at face value first, including events for which we have no frame of reference and no historical reference. At the opening of the sixth seal is a great earthquake. This is in verse 12. By our scientific measurements, an earthquake must be a magnitude 8 to be called great, but the results of this earthquake are given as part of that same sentence. The sun will almost disappear because of the blackness of the sky, and the moon will look red. Indeed, this will be a quake strong enough to throw enough earth and debris into the air as to blot out the sun. The moon will look red, perhaps after some of the debris has fallen out of the sky. The quake will most likely involve volcanoes erupting also. Verse 13, the stars of heaven fall unto the earth. We can assume that actual stars are not falling on earth, or the story would end here. Rather, what did John see in his vision? The stars which fall could be lava and red-hot rocks falling back to earth after the quake and volcanoes going off. It could be small meteorites from X burning up the atmosphere. Or, last but not least, it could be the actual sudden movement or stoppage of the earth in response to the nearness of X, which would appear to cause the stars to fall. This would be especially true when looking at the horizon, where the stars would seem to be falling in the distance. In verse 14, the night sky disappears. Here again, most likely due to debris in the atmosphere or debris between us and whatever, such as a comet tail. However, every mountain and island are moved out of their place. This could be the effect of the great quake, with more earth movement at the epicenter, yet still enough of a slam to actually cause movement on the other side of the world. What comes through into a vision as a quake might manifest first as something entirely different. The nearness of X could cause great gravitational pull on the side of the earth which faces it. Country-sized chunks or crust could be dislodged, with such movement leading to quakes. The least likely scenario here is still worthy of mention. That is, the movement of the entire earth would change, as though someone had pulled the North Pole down 15 degrees or so, for example. The spin axis of the earth would be different, which definitely would lead immediately to quakes. And thus every mountain and island are moved from their places. But that would take a really close flyby of X. In verse 15, we find out that the elite have made bunker cities for themselves, and they know that Planet X is coming. They know where it is in the sky. In verse 15, the elite of the world are featured in this verse, hiding in places all over the globe already known and secured for them. Those places are huge bunker cities in the mountains, most finished years ago and stocked with 10 years or more of food, water, and other supplies. Armaments and soldiers will be added as the late time approaches. Then big shots will be flown in. Those elite of the world, the kings and great men and rich men of verse 15, know where X is in the sky right now. Besides the big telescopes down here, there's the Hubble telescope. Also, they're regularly launching cameras into space, which have the stated missions of getting pictures of other planets in our solar system. Don't believe it. In verse 16, here is the proof that the elite know what is going on. Secure but still afraid in their bunker cities. They cry out uselessly to the rocks to hide them from God and Christ and holy wrath. They don't cry out, hide us from Planet X. The elite know that what is happening is the wrath of God and of Christ, using X and its effects as tools for that wrath. In verse 17, here it is spelled out. It said, for the great day of his wrath is come. They know that they are not just running and hiding from the quake or comet debris or the celestial event. They are trying to hide from Almighty God, from his face, which sees them, even as they tremble, snot-nosed and wailing in their precious bunkers. In cowardice and selfishness, they have kept all celestial news from the public. But the great day of his wrath is come. In chapter 8, the seventh seal and the trumpets begin. Verse 1, when the seventh seal is opened, there is silence in heaven for about half an hour. You talk about the calm before the storm. Yeah. The seventh seal is composed of 7 trumpets. The seventh trumpet is composed of 7 vials. Vials of God's wrath poured out in the earth. Verse 2, the 7 angels stand before God and are given 7 trumpets. Verse 3 and 4, an angel offers incense and prayers. Verse 5 and 6, the angel fills the incense with the fire from the altar and casts it to earth. There are voices, thunders, lightning, and an earthquake. The voices are one of the things which result of the fire from the altar being cast to earth. Those voices could be the shouts of a startled and fearful humanity, perhaps communicating over phones and radios. No doubt international and military airwaves would be humming. And the 7 trumpet angels prepare to sound. Verse 7. We're still in chapter 8. In verse 7, the first angel sounds a trumpet. Hail and fire with blood are cast to earth. This reads to me like a massive meteor storm. At any rate, it must all be really hot, as 1/3 of all trees and all green grass is burned up. Does this mean that 1/3 of all trees and grass on the earth is burnt up? Okay, a great mountain burning with fire. In verses 8 and 9, the second angel sounds, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire is cast into the sea. This description is of an asteroid hit. John's vision says that he saw a big mountain on fire, which is what an incoming meteor would look like, streaking through the atmosphere on fire. The text also says, as it were a great mountain. This means that though it looks like such, it is not in fact a mountain. John was saying that it looked like a mountain burning with fire, but it is something else. that something is a meteorite. The term great indicates it would pack quite a wallop, as it not only survives entry and burning through the atmosphere, but as is told through verse 9, its impact on either earth or water will kill 1/3 of sea life and destroy 1/3 of the ships at sea. Again, I wonder, 1/3 of all sea life on earth, 1/3 of all the vessels at sea at the time of impact, and such devastation would indicate an ocean impact. Another theory worthy of mention is the Great Mountain is an oceanside volcano erupting. Literally a great mountain burning with fire, it would erupt with such fury that its rocky base is disturbed and the entire business slides into the ocean. I question whether such an event with an ensuing tsunami would have the power to do the same damage as the previous asteroid description type of event. But I also think that this event was meant to be compared to the next one in verse 10. In that comparison lies the affirmation of the definition of both events. Okay, verse 10 introduces Wormwood. The third angel sounds a trumpet. Here we are told of a star, which is burning as though it were a lamp. I believe that the meaning here is actually of a star. Like our own sun is a star. Isn't that what stars do? They burn like a lamp with their own form of combustion from within. A lamp burns the fuel that is put in it. A star, such as our own sun, burns the hydrogen within itself. Compare the star's method of burning with the previous discussion of the burning of a meteorite, which will burn from the outside as it heats up while zooming through our atmosphere. Planet X is alleged to be a brown dwarf star. A planet-sized star, even a faded brown dwarf star, can still cause a lot more damage than a rogue planet, and can cause that damage at a lot further distance. Continuing verse 10, the star appears to fall to earth in the distance. Debris from it or dust from it or debris from the tail fall upon 1/3 of the rivers and fountains of waters. The star is called Wormwood, and 1/3 of the waters are affected by it. Many men die because the water is poisoned by X. In verse 11, Wormwood is defined as a bitter herb. So we can understand John in his vision assigning the name to X. Wormwood is also defined elsewhere as to migrate and to sojourn. Planet X does indeed migrate in its 3,600 years or so round trip between our sun and the other faraway star it also orbits. So verse 8 describes a great mountain burning with fire, which is most likely an asteroid hit on Earth, but could be a volcano event. However, Wormwood is thoroughly pegged as a star. It looks and behaves as a star. I think that John was trying to describe to us the difference into two things he saw burning, that they were burning in different ways for different reasons. That's it this evening for Revelation Greatest Hits. Look for my ebook of the same name. Good night.